So today we are going to talk about, one really important thing. So we are going to discuss something which is not discussed a lot in magical circles of all kinds. A lot of people use magical conjurations, evocations in their rituals, and it's pretty much, something which almost everyone uses. Almost everyone uses the words of power, and today we are going to explain in detail how those words of power really operate. So, they operate on the following basis. So, let's start with the most holy book of the Western civilization. Let's start with the Bible. Okay. So, in the beginning, there was God, and God was the Word. The word is sound. Okay. I say the word horse. I say the word God. I say the word bird. I produce a certain sound. So if the God is the word, then he is the sound. And modern science knows that the particles of light, aka photons, sometimes behave as light and they sometimes behave as sound. So particle sometimes behaves as a wave and sometimes behaves as a particle. So if God is the sound, God is also the light. So what the Bible tells us? It tells us that God is primordial sound and primordial light, from which all sounds and lights originated. So technically, if God is sound and light, everything is sound and light, or sound or light, because sound and light are one and the same thing. So, because everything is sound and light, everything is simply a gradation of that divine essence, of that divine light, per se. And so, when you are using words of power, you are using certain divine energies, certain divine currents originating from God to create a certain change in the world. That is the point of the words of power. So now, when I explained a theoretical framework for the words of power and how they work in theory and how they originate from my personal experience, how I came to this conclusion we can talk later, but now that we kinda cleared theory, let's talk about the practice. So if the God is primordial light and sound according to the Bible and according to what is written, not according to certain interpretations, if you take it at face value, God is primordial light and sound. It's not an entity, it's not a spirit, it doesn't have a personality, it's a primordial light and sound from which everything originates. All of the spirits, all of the energies, all of the objects, everything is simply a gradation of his essence, a gradation of his energy. He originates everything and he is everything and he transcends everything. When I say he, I am referring to primordial light and sound. I am not referring to essentially personality, for you guys to understand me. So if God is primordial light and sound, then when you use name of God, you are using essentially the aspects of that primordial light and sound. parts of it, as you will, aspects of it, to cause a particular change. But people specifically don't have necessarily crazy results with the names of God. They have certain experiences, they have certain phenomena, but they don't have crazy results. And why is that the case? Because in order to use certain name of power, certain word of power, be it the name of God or any other word of power, you have to unlock it. You have to become attuned to it. So, in order to be attuned to the words of power, if you want to be attuned to the divine names, there are three specific entities we can call as the black magicians: Harut, Marut, so those are two angels, Shemyaza, the third, and Samael, the fourth. Those are four entities which can help us black magicians to become attuned to divine names and become essentially able to use them properly. And once we perform rituals with those four entities, we become able to use divine names to their full potential. So essentially, it is really important. It doesn't matter what word of power you are using. You need to go to the entity, energy, or divine name which created or gave to you that word of power. And you need to essentially ask that entity or that energy to attune you to that word of power in order to use the word of power effectively. Otherwise, you will have sporadic results. Otherwise, your chants, if they remain locked, they will not be able to be used properly. And this is really important for everyone who practices any form of magical incantation. You need to unlock it first. This is something Lilith suggested me to unlock the secret of the divine names. And then I encountered the same concept within the work of Nineveh Shadrach, which essentially told me that this is really a real concept, unlocking the power of magical conjurations. And so, after I learned that from spiritual source and then from the physical source, I started studying it, and I started studying the words of power and unlocking them, and I have much better results with them now. Much better results in all areas. It's really a completely different level of magic since I started unlocking the divine names and words of power I use to achieve results. So thank you people for watching, and see you tomorrow. It is really a pleasure to talk to you guys.